Friends, do you know there was a time in America when slavery had ended, but no one told the slaves? Imagine being free by law, but still working under a whip, because your master didn't bother to tell you. That's not fiction, it's history. This is the story of Juneteenth, America's other Independence Day. A day born not from fireworks and speeches, but from silence and stolen time. To understand Juneteenth, we need to go back to a nation divided by chains. It was the year 1863. The United States was in the midst of a bloody civil war. President Abraham Lincoln had just signed the Emancipation Proclamation, a historic document declaring that all enslaved people in the Confederate States shall be thenceforward, and forever free. Sounds like the end of slavery, right? Well, not exactly. You see, the Emancipation Proclamation only applied to states in rebellion, not the Union-loyal border states where slavery was still legal. And even in the Confederate South, it meant nothing unless Union troops were present to enforce it. So for many enslaved people, freedom was just ink on paper, far away and out of reach. Now zoom in on Texas. In 1863, Texas was largely untouched by war. It became a safe haven for plantation owners fleeing from advancing Union forces. Thousands of enslaved African Americans were forcibly moved there, dragged deeper into bondage. By the time the war was ending in 1865, Texas had over 250,000 enslaved people, most of whom had no idea that Lincoln had signed anything. They worked, they suffered, they waited, and the silence stretched on. Then came the turning point. On April 9, 1865, Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse. The Civil War was over. But Texas was still isolated, defiant, and determined to keep things the way they were. For over 2 more months, enslaved people in Texas continued to live under the yoke of slavery, despite the war being over. And then, on June 19, 1865, everything changed. A Union general named Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, with around 2,000 federal troops. They came not just to take control, but to deliver a message that had been delayed for far too long. Granger stood before a crowd and read General Order No. 3. It declared, "The people of Texas are informed that, in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free." Just 42 words, but they changed history. Imagine hearing those words, after generations of chains. Let's walk through those pivotal days. June 18, 1865, Union ships arrive at Galveston's harbor. The city is hot, humid, and uneasy. Confederate sympathizers still linger. Most of the population has no idea what's coming. Morning of June 19, 1865, Union soldiers march through the streets. Flags wave. Drums beat. General Granger's men post a notice around town. Slavery is over. Midday, Granger himself reads the order from the balcony of Ashton Villa, one of the grandest buildings in Galveston. White onlookers are stunned. Enslaved people are confused. Some cheer. Others are silent. Many are afraid. It seems too good to be true. Evening, word spreads like wildfire across plantations. For some, it's the first they've heard of the Emancipation Proclamation, 2.5 years after it was signed. Days that follow, chaos and celebration collide. Some plantation owners refuse to acknowledge the order. Others delay freeing slaves until after the harvest. Violence erupts. But the wave of freedom cannot be held back. And as the days turn to weeks, one thing becomes clear: June 19th, Juneteenth, is a day people will never forget.